Hey everyone, it's Marty from Down the Rabbit Hole Travel, and today I want to talk to you about this trend that's going on in the travel community that I super hate. I actually had a whole script planned out to talk to you guys about, but I think I'm just gonna go on a rant, so hang on to your hats. So I don't know if any of you were aware, but apparently there is a hierarchy in the tourism industry between travelers and tourists. I didn't even know about this until I started watching Anthony Bourdain, who has a series on Netflix. Now, I have the utmost respect for Anthony Bourdain. He is a fearless traveler. He goes to countries that have just ousted dictators and samples foods that I would probably never eat. Just a really adventurous guy. So I totally respect him. And sadly, he has now passed on, so I don't want to speak ill of the dead. But there was one episode where he said it was a waste of time to fly to Paris and wait in lines for things like the Eiffel Tower and Notre Dame Cathedral, and instead, people who want to be travelers should just sit at a sidewalk cafe, get drunk on French wine, and take somebody home for the night. Which I thought sounded super ridiculous. I'm sorry, Anthony Bourdain, but I'm not spending $2,000 to $3,000 to fly all the way to Paris, then sit and get drunk, and maybe get an STD. Not my type of trip. When I travel, I like to have like a mile-long itinerary of things that I want to see and do. I have it all timetabled out. I have walking distances between locations. And I have a list of things that I want to see and do when I fly to a certain destination. I could always just sit and drink wine at home and not spend $2,000 to $3,000. It was just such a crazy recommendation, considering it was coming from somebody so well-traveled, somebody that I just respected so much in the travel community. So I did a little digging. What I found out was there is this distinction between what makes a traveler and what makes a tourist. And the tourist is slammed for being all things bad, while the traveler is esteemed in such high regard. But I have trouble finding the distinction between the two, because some of the reasoning behind what makes a traveler and what makes a tourist is so laughable. All travelers are tourists, and all tourists must travel. There's really no distinction. If you don't own a home in the area, if you don't pay taxes, if you don't have a post office box, you're probably not someone who lives in the area, therefore you are a tourist. And it doesn't matter how you traveled to get there. Just to give you an example of some of the criteria that you must meet in order to become a traveler and not a tourist, let me share some of the things I found online, and let's talk about it. Get ready, folks. This is travel snobbery at its finest. So there's tons of these little charts online that dictate whether or not you're a traveler or a tourist, depending on certain behaviors or actions that you do. And they are so ridiculous. Can we not perpetuate this anymore? Here's an example of one of the charts I'm talking about. So apparently, if you are a tourist, you like to stay in 3 to 4 star hotels. But if you're a hardcore traveler, you're gonna stay in hostels and guest houses. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it mattered where I spent 6 to 8 hours unconscious in the middle of the night. See, I kind of prefer staying in a room where I don't have to share with 12 other strangers, and I like showering in clean showers and not having strangers' hair stuck to my body. But I guess that makes me an inconsiderate tourist. According to this chart, only lame tourists pack suitcases. Only true travelers carry backpacks. So I guess Charles Darwin, who traversed the world and discovered tons of new species, was nothing but a lame tourist because he had a lot of suitcases with him. You can only be a true traveler if you stay off the beaten track. Only lame tourists come to famous places and see landmarks like the Eiffel Tower and Notre Dame Cathedral. Pfft, how lame to want to see 800-year-old churches. You could not be more lame if you wanted to see Notre Dame Cathedral. By the way, I'm glad I saw, because right now, it's in ruins. You guys, I've been doing it wrong this whole time. I didn't realize I had to be blasé. I didn't know I had to fly to all these amazing places and then not see anything. That's how you travel. And don't even think about booking a tour bus with a tour guide on it, You need to be responsible for your own learning when you're traveling. Forget about the local people who are acting as tour guides on your bus and know everything there is to know about the city and have lived there their whole lives and love to share the information they know about that city. Just get a book and read a little paragraph about where you're going, and then you will be a true traveler. Now guys, here's where I've really been dropping the ball. I like to show up to a location with a huge list of things I want to see, an itinerary, plans. I should just be showing up to a place with no research, no forethought, and just wing it. It says it right there in the chart, just wing it. So if I miss out on some amazing things because I just spent the whole day wandering the city lost, that's okay. Seeing nothing is all about being a traveler. I just can't believe I've been doing it wrong this whole time. Here are some other helpful images that I found to teach you how to be the perfect traveler and avoid being a nasty, nasty tourist. If we didn't have this infographic, we wouldn't know that we're only supposed to pack one shirt for the entire duration of our trip. I can't believe I've been packing multiple shirts this whole time. Now this infographic is so helpful in teaching me how to be a good traveler because I've been using taxi cabs and buses and airport shuttles and other kinds of accredited, organized systems of travel, when this whole time I should have been hitchhiking with total strangers and no helmet, and also getting murdered and buried in an unmarked grave. What was I thinking? I am super lame. And here's the mistake that everybody's been making. I'm not sure anybody realized this, but tourists take photos of the places they've come to see and experience. Travelers take naps. I had no idea that this was what I was supposed to be doing. I had no idea that when I went to the Sistine Chapel, instead of looking around in awe and wonder at all of the amazing art and thinking about the time and the effort that it took to create it, I should have been just laying on a bench, sleeping. I wish somebody had told me this before. I am totally a tourist. And did you know that the way your eyes see things dictates whether or not you're a traveler or a tourist? So it says the tourist sees what he has come to see, but the traveler just sees what he sees. So if you're seeing something that you've come to see instead of seeing what you're seeing, then you are just a tourist. But if you're just seeing and not seeing what you've come to see, but you're just seeing, then you're a traveler. It's just so simple. All kidding aside, I know what the true issue is about. I'm not stupid. I get what the point is that people are trying to make. People in the travel community want other travelers out there who are respectful, who do a little research beforehand, who come to a new country already knowing some of the societal norms, some of the expectations. They already know what to expect from the food, from a menu, from a restaurant. They're not going to be complaining and comparing about things back home. This chart is probably the closest to having a valid argument between a traveler and a tourist, although I still do not agree with the labels that are put up on top. If you are traveling, you're a tourist. And if you're a tourist, you've traveled there, so you're therefore a traveler. There is no distinction. Let's quit with the labels. To me, the heart of the issue is whether or not you're just a decent human being. If you show up to a new country and you complain about the menu, that there's not enough food that you're used to, or if you come to a country that speaks a different language from your own and you haven't bothered to learn any of the simplest phrases like please, thank you, you're welcome, how much is the wine, which are all key phrases to travel, if you don't have the decency to thank your server and acknowledge them as another human being, then you're probably not a tourist or a traveler. You're probably just a jerk. And the thing is, if you're rude to your servers and you don't pay attention to the people around you and you think yourself as superior, you're probably going to do that when you're at home too. This isn't a travel issue. This is just an issue about someone's personality. So can we just quit calling rude people tourists? Because it's not a bad thing to be a tourist. If you are not at home, if you are somewhere different, you're a tourist. So just accept that.
So what do you think about this traveler versus tourist debate? Should we get rid of these labels, or do they hold some merit? Let me know respectfully in the comments below. If this video entertained you, leave me a thumbs up and feel free to share this out. And if you are new to my channel, remember to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any new videos.